My dear friends, today we celebrate the third Sunday of Advent, Gaudete Sunday, a day filled with joy and hope as we draw closer to Christmas. Our readings invite us to trust in God's promise, wait with patience, and prepare our hearts with humility for the coming of the Lord. The first reading, taken from the prophet Isaiah, is one of the most beautiful passages of hope in the Old Testament. It was spoken to people who were living through great pain and uncertainty, most likely addressed to the people of Judah either during or after the Babylonian exile. Their city had been destroyed, their temple burned, and they were forced to live far from home. Everything around them felt like a dry, lifeless desert. Into this darkness, the prophet Isaiah brings a powerful promise. God will make the desert bloom. The wilderness, symbol of pain, loss, and emptiness, will burst into flowers and joy. He speaks of weak hands becoming strong, fearful hearts being encouraged, and people being told, "Do not fear, your God is coming." This reminds the people that God is not distant or silent. He is actively working to bring salvation. The miracles described, blind eyes opening, deaf ears hearing, the lame leaping, and the mute tongue singing, show that God's restoration is total. He heals not only the land but the people themselves, and this healing ends with the greater promise. All of the tears of exile, sorrow, fear, shame will fade away, replaced by lasting peace. Isaiah invites us to believe that God can bring life to our dry places. When we feel lost, tired, or discouraged, God promises renewal. He can strengthen our weak hearts, open our eyes to hope, and lead us toward joy. Just as He guided the exiles back home, He walks with us, turning our deserts into gardens and our mourning into gladness. This passage, often read during Advent, points forward to God's coming in Christ, who embodies this hope and healing for all humanity. In the second reading taken from the letter of James, he speaks directly to Christians who were experiencing hardship, injustice, and disappointment. Many early believers were poor, oppressed by wealthy landowners, and waiting for Christ's return with growing frustration. Into this situation, James gives one central message: be patient and stand firm. God has not forgotten you. James uses the image of a farmer waiting for rain. In ancient Israel, farmers depended completely on the early autumn rains and the late spring rains. They could not force the rain to come. They could only trust, wait, and keep working the land. In the same way, James encourages believers to trust that God is at work even when they can't see immediate results. Patience in the Christian life is not passive, it is hopeful, active waiting. He also says, strengthen your hearts, for the coming of the Lord is near. It means living with constant awareness that God's justice, mercy, and victory are always moving toward us. Every moment can be lived with purpose and hope because God is not distant. James warns believers not to grumble against one another. Hard times can make communities turn inward, blame each other, or become bitter. Instead, James calls them to unity and compassion. God's judgment is not meant to scare, but to remind them of accountability. How we treat others matters deeply to God. Finally, James points to the prophets as examples of courageous endurance. They suffered, were misunderstood, and sometimes felt alone. Yet, they remained faithful to God's voice. Their lives show that waiting with trust is itself a form of holiness. This passage invites us to slow down, breathe, and trust God's timing. When situations feel stuck or prayers seem unanswered, we are not abandoned. God is forming patience, strength, and compassion within us. Like the farmer, we keep tending the soil of our lives, believing that the rains will come and that God's promises will bear fruit in the right season. A young musician once dreamed of becoming the lead performer in a famous orchestra. He imagined the spotlight, applause, and recognition. But when he finally joined the orchestra, he was assigned to play a supporting instrument, small, barely noticed. At first, he felt disappointed. But over time, he realized something beautiful. When he played his part faithfully, even if it was just a few quiet notes, the whole orchestra sounded complete. Without his small contribution, the grand performance would have felt empty. Greatness, he discovered, isn't always in leading, it's in faithfully playing the role given. Something similar happens in today's gospel taken from Matthew. John the Baptist, now sitting in a dark prison cell, begins to wonder if Jesus truly is the Messiah. John expected a fiery, dramatic figure, a Messiah who would overthrow evil with force. Instead, Jesus was healing, teaching gently, eating with sinners, and showing mercy. John sends his disciples to ask, "Are you the one?" It is a deeply human moment, full of doubts, questions, and longing for clarity. Jesus responds with reassurance. He tells John's disciples to look at the signs. The blind see, the lame walk, the deaf hear, the dead are raised, and the poor receive good news. These actions reveal the heart of God's kingdom, one built not on spectacle, but on compassion and healing. Then Jesus turns to the crowd and does something remarkable. He praises John. Jesus does not praise easily. His compliments are rare and given only to people of great faith and integrity. John is called the greatest born of women because he knew who he was. He understood his mission. He had immense popularity, yet he had the humility to say, "He must increase and I must decrease." John was great not because he took the spotlight, but because he willingly stepped out of it. Like John the Baptist, we too are called to prepare the way of the Lord. This does not always mean doing extraordinary things. Sometimes preparing the way of the Lord looks like forgiving someone in the family. Sometimes it means being patient with a struggling child or elderly parent. Sometimes it means choosing kindness instead of reacting in anger. And sometimes it means accepting the role of a supporting actor, helping others grow, pointing people to Jesus, and serving quietly but faithfully. Each of us must discern, what is my purpose? What role has God given me? This gospel invites us to trust God's surprising ways. Greatness in God's eyes comes through humility, faithfulness, and understanding our unique mission. When we embrace our role, big or small, and point others to Christ, we too help prepare the way of the Lord. This week, ask yourself, where is God inviting me to bring hope? Where is He asking me to wait patiently? Where is He calling me to step aside so Christ can shine? May God bless us all.